And welcome to this Audit and Standards Committee meeting that's being held on Tuesday, the 24th of February at 6 o'clock. In terms of apologies, I believe we've had apologies from Councillor Brown, and Councillor Sue Markham is subbing for Councillor Brown tonight, but I think everyone else is here. That's right, isn't it? I think. Yeah, brilliant. So, in terms of announcements, fire drills not expected, but obviously if it does sound, we need to leave quickly and calmly, and we meet outside Lloyds Bank, but there's not one expected or planned tonight. Please can you also make sure your mobile phones are set to silent. This meeting is being recorded and uploaded on the YouTube page. The confidential item later on will not be recorded because it will be a confidential item, but obviously we'll vote to make that part of the meeting confidential. So the recording will abruptly stop, but that is the reason why. So we've already done apologies. Declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest for this meeting? Are we all up to date? I think we're all up to date, all sorted. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Item number 4, public consultation. I don't think there are any public speakers tonight. Is that right? So no public speakers tonight. But obviously, I welcome the fact that there are 2 members of the public in the gallery. Thank you very much for coming. So item number 5 then is the 2024-25 Statement of Accounts. So we've got a report from the Strategic Director, and I think there's just a little note at the start, isn't there, Vicky? Is that right? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So the report this evening is a long document for the Statement of Accounts, which we've gone through earlier on as part of a training exercise, and the auditors will be here to present their opinion on the statements. So there are 4 recommendations, and that the opinion on the statements is noted, that the completion report is also noted, that the Statement of Accounts then can be signed off by myself and the Chair of Audit and Standards Committee, and then also we have authority to sign off the letter of representation as well. In addition to that, there is just a note that I need to just mention to everybody and put a recommendation into for some changes that need to be made to the statements. The document has been given to everybody, so everyone's aware of the pages that this refers to. At the top of page 92 of the statements, the net assets have changed from 444.6 million to 444.4 million. The reason for this change is an adjustment the auditors have requested we make, but we didn't update the narrative. So that's the first adjustment. The second one is at the bottom of page 94 the unusable reserves have increased from 391.8 to 392.0. So there's a slight change there, which is again in millions. And then on the table for the comprehensive income and expenditure statement on page 101 of the agenda, the figure for surplus and deficit on revaluation of property, plant and equipment has moved from 24.172 million to 23.834 million. So that's just to note those changes and then to approve that those can be put ahead into the statements. Thank you, Chair. I'll pass on to Rebecca then.
Thank you. Can I confirm that everyone in the chamber can hear me okay?
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm here today to present our audit completion report of Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council for the 24-25 financial year. I'll take the report as read and outline the key messages for members' attention. So we propose to issue a disclaimer audit opinion, and this is due to the backstop that's been imposed by central government on local government bodies to have audited accounts published by the 27th of February 2026. Members will be aware that there is an audit backlog crisis across the local government system in England, and the government have imposed backstop deadlines to start to bring the system into recovery and timely signing of accounts over the next 3 years. A disclaimer audit opinion was first issued by your predecessor in 22-23, and the accounts for 23-24 were therefore not published until November 2024, which meant that there was insufficient time last year to complete the planned audit work and recover missing assurance from 22-23, and therefore this time last year a further disclaimer opinion was issued. This means that in 24-25 there are 2 years of disclaimed opinions in which we are required to rebuild missing out audit assurance as well as complete the current year audit. Given the number of years of missing assurance, it's not possible to complete all of this rebuild work in a single audit year, and therefore, in line with guidance issued by the National Audit Office, this is planned to be phased out over a number of years to recover the missing assurance. This therefore results in us providing a disclaimer audit opinion until we've recovered missing years assurance and completed 3 full clean balance sheet audits and 2 income and expenditure audits. In line with our audit plan that we presented last year, we are working to recover this missing assurance and go back to an unqualified opinion by 27/28. Although we are issuing a disclaimer of opinion, we have undertaken a number of audit procedures on the accounts for the current year, as well as rebuilding audit assurance by performing testing on previous year's financial statements, which we can accrete and use to gain assurance over prior year disclaimed financial statements. Our audit completion report outlines in detail the work carried out. However, given the opening balances have been disclaimed in previous years, we are unable to provide assurance on the closing balances until we've gained full assurance over previous year's disclaimed balances and movements due to the inherent link between opening and closing balances. Although our conclusions note that we cannot provide a conclusion for assurance purposes, we have carried out work to support our return to provide that assurance in future years. We also note the progress management has made from the prior year in supporting us with rebuilding this work. However, we do note that there is still a significant amount of work to be done to recover the 2 years of missing assurance, which does take significant resource time from the finance team and also from audit. We have outlined in detail the significant risks noted within our audit plan and our response to those risks identified and the work carried out undertaken prior to the backstop. We have noted a couple of audit adjustments that Vicky's just went through and some disclosure amendments to the financial statements. However, these have not had an impact on the reported outturned general fund position of the council. We also note our value for money conclusions, which were previously reported to members within our annual audit report, and that was reported at the November Audit and Standards Committee. The appendix to our report outlines our recommendations identified during the course of our audit work. We have identified some control recommendations relating to IT systems, which has been communicated to management with an agreed action plan. However, we are satisfied that there are no significant deficiencies arising from those findings that have been made. We also outline our audit fee for the year, which includes the time spent this year on recovering missing audit assurance from previous years, which is not included within the scale fee set by PSA. A breakdown of this is included within the appendix. These are the main points I wanted to highlight to members, and if helpful, I am happy to offer a separate session in person to members to discuss the issue of the audit backstop, what that means for Nuneaton, and how we are working with management to get back to an unqualified opinion if members would find that helpful. I do understand that this report is very detailed and contains a lot of information, so I am also happy to take any questions members may have at this time on the content of the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. I'll be moving to questions now. Yeah. Do I have any questions for Rebecca? Thank you. Councillor Will Markham.
You said you're prepared to have a meeting with members to discuss it. I mean, I would agree to that, so we can go through this document in detail and see what's what. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Markham. I'm going to propose then that we move forward with a meeting with Rebecca in person. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Smith, Councillor Markham. Do we need to put it to a vote? Yeah? Yeah, should we put it to a vote, folks, that we're happy with that? All those in favour? Anyone against? And then, thank you. So I think that's carried. I think it was 2 against, and then, yeah, thank you. Thanks very much. Do we have any other questions for Rebecca? Thank you. Councillor Jenkins.
Hi, Rebecca. I just wanted a bit clarification on something I was a bit confused by. On 54/37 of the report, page 54/37, it was with the minimum revenue provision, second paragraph down. It says the year-end MRP charge was 459,000, a net decrease of 195,000 from 24/25. Should that be 23/24?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. All right, thank you.
Yes, yeah, sorry, apologies. That is a typo. It should be from 23/24. So yeah, there was a £195,000 decrease from the prior year.
Otherwise, it didn't make sense, did it? Yeah. Cheers.
Sorry. So I'm just going to move a proposal then that the Section 151 officer just get in touch with. Vicky's going to get in touch with the auditors to make that correction to the auditing. Is that right? To report, yeah. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Jamie Hartshaw. There we go. Got there. There we go. Do I move to vote on that? Yeah. So all those in favour of Vicky doing that, if you can just raise your hands. And I think that is unanimous. Thank you very much, folks. Do we have any other questions for Rebecca? Yes, Councillor Smith.
I think I've asked this question every time we've actually done audits. But I'm just looking at the fees and I'm just wondering how they break down in terms of time. Are we going to get a breakdown of time and how much work, quantify the work in terms of hours or something that's quantifiable rather than just a top level fee that we can't actually scrutinise at all?
Yeah, everything is broken down into hours charged by the engagement team. Given the inherent nature of disclaimer audits, it does require more time from the senior engagement team, and therefore the charge of that is I guess a bit higher than if a junior associate was performing the work. But everything is supported through timesheets that our audit team put through in terms of the work that I've done, so we can definitely provide members with a breakdown of hours for each of the areas, if that's helpful.
Can I propose that you present that at this next meeting then in face-to-face? I suppose that'd be a question to you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Smith. Do we have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Festovich. Do we move to a vote straight away on that? Yeah. So if we can move to a vote on that proposal from Councillor Smith, all those in favour? And any against? So 2 against and no abstentions. Did you get that, Maria? Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks very much, folks. Are there any other questions for Rebecca? Yes, Councillor Will Markham.
Can I ask you, did you have any difficulty getting the information that you needed to fulfil your obligations to present the accounts which are in these papers? Thank you.
So in terms of access to individuals, so our main route of contact is through Vicky and her team, and they have been open and transparent with any information that we need. One of the difficulties that we do encounter, though, is because we are trying to rebuild assurance on previous years, there is historic data that we need access to, and it takes a bit longer to get access to that information because it's not as readily available. Vicky and the team have been working hard to get us that information, and we have been getting that, but it does take inherently a little bit longer to get that information than it would be if it was just a current year audit that we were looking at. So I guess to answer your question, yes, we have been given access to all the information that we require. However, there is instances where it does take longer than expected because we are looking at periods that predate this current financial year.
Thanks, Rebecca. Councillor Smith.
On that, I'm surprised it takes longer. I mean, I thought that information should be readily available. Does that indicate a problem with the processes within the council in terms of accessing historical data?
I think Vicky's going to take this one. Is that all right? Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor. The issues we've been having has been around resource within the team initially, so that the resources now, we're getting to a better position with that. And we've got, as Rebecca has already indicated, there's a backlog of work over a period of years, so it isn't just as simple as, I've got the information here and I hand it across. It's not as straightforward as that, because there's quite a lot of detail and data that the auditors require. So there are working papers, robust working papers, which we do forward onto the audit team, and then we work really closely with them in ensuring that we get the correct opinion. As it is in year, as I mentioned in the training that we provided earlier, the data that's been sent through, we have improved year on year on governance, so we are in a better position than we were previous year. So things are making a marked improvement. It's just taking a bit. It's going to take a bit of time to get us where we need to be.
Thank you, Councillor Bill Hancox.
Thanks, Chair. It's just a couple of comments really, and Vicky's just touched on one that I was going to raise, and that's you know, on the previous couple of years, there's been concern over the staffing in the finance department, but clearly going through all this document, it really looks like we are moving forward now, and we've kind of got an end date almost in our sights. So I'd like to place on record, certainly mine, and I'm sure it'd be the panel's thanks to our finance team for the difficulties they've had to work under, and also to the auditors for the report that's given us, that we've been given for tonight's meeting. Yes, there's concerns. We'd be wrong if we didn't say we didn't have concerns, but like I say, I think we're moving in the right direction. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Hancock. So I completely agree wholeheartedly with what you said. I think Vicky and the finance team have done a fantastic job. And I can only say in the time that I've spent as chair of audit, Vicky and the team in their meetings with me have been very straight with me. They've been very, very helpful. Any questions I've had, they've been very approachable and very transparent and shared all the information that I would want to see with me. So yeah, I'm very pleased with what Vicky's done and what the team have done. So yeah, I agree, Councillor Hancock. I very much appreciate what they've done. I thank them for that. Yeah. Do we have any other questions? Councillor Sue Markham.
Thank you, Chair. I know that the audit statement, they're going to issue an audit statement, and the lady's just said that there's no significant findings within that. But within the report, there are at least 11 that I've got written down here, actual things, items that actually say there's no confirmation, there's missing documents, stuff's not been completed and all that sort of thing. So are we saying that all these are historical and they're not within this current year? Well, you know, the year we're talking about.
Rebecca, did you hear that last question? Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, happy to come in on that. So there's a mix. There's some current year things that we haven't been able to complete and some previous year things that we haven't been able to complete. And the reason for that is because there is an imposed backstop. So we do have to essentially stop our work by the 27th of February because we have to issue our audit opinion by that date, and therefore any work that hasn't been completed or information we haven't received, we essentially have to stop work at that point to provide our audit opinion in line with the government imposed backstop. That's not to say that the information isn't available, as Vicky commented on just previously. There has been some delays just with resource capacity and also with trying to source historical data as well, and that does take time. And we are working through current year audits and trying to work through 2 years previous audits as well. So it's as I mentioned earlier, that we aren't able to do that in a single audit year, and it will take a number of years to get all of that information. So it's mainly because of the backstop that we haven't been able to conclude all the work, and that's why information hasn't came to us by the time we drafted the report, because we essentially had to stop work at a certain time to draft the report and issue our audit opinion by the end of February.
Thank you, Rebecca. Do we have any other questions for Rebecca or Vicky? Yeah, Councillor Will Markham.
If the information isn't there, and we don't know how much money is there, or whether it's shortfall from the previous years, how can we sort of plan forward if we don't know the balance? If we're not aware of debt and credit and the balances on the books, how do we run this business? Well, not business, it's the council. How do we run the council with guesswork if you haven't got the figures in front of you? I mean, even 5 minutes ago at 6 o'clock or just after, you get a piece of paper with things being rectified. I mean, you know, as a member of the committee, how can I digest that within a few seconds to make an opinion whether the accounts are correct or why we've got to change in figures? I find it very difficult. I mean, the document is very large, but I don't know how you can sort out the accounts if you don't know what the figures are. You know, if you can give me an answer, please do. Thank you.
Yeah, Vicky's just going to come in on this one, Mr. Markham. Yeah.
The figures that are in the ledger are as accurate as we can make them. We take guidance from the valuers. We have external valuers that value our assets, that value our pension funds, that do all of those things. So that information comes from external people that look at our data. We put that into our ledgers. Ledger themselves is basically income and expenditure that goes through that. If we pay bills and we get income in, those are the things that are in there. So in terms of the balances being incorrect in the bank accounts have been looked at. They're checked and reconciled. Those things are looked at. There's a number of factors that the auditors have been looking at the moment, but they're not, because we're struggling with opening balances, that's causing the issue with being able to sign off the accounts in full. So once the opening balances, which is going backwards, we're going to have to go backwards and prove different parts of individual years. That will then give us an opinion on the statements in the next couple of years, but it's just going to take some time to get there. But the numbers that are in the ledger are accurate as far as I'm aware. There are not any discrepancies within there that I've been made aware of, and I'm comfortable that the information that's in front of you is correct. The adjustment that's been made this evening, which I did mention at the beginning of the meeting, is that the auditors have spotted an adjustment that needed to be made of £200,000. Doesn't impact on our usable reserves. It's our unusable reserves, which I went through with you earlier on in our training session, and that was about a valuation issue. So that has been corrected. That correction, there were a number of different things that needed to be copied into the statements to enable that to be correct in the statements. We've missed out one statement that should have been copied in, and then hadn't updated the narrative report. That's the two elements that had happened there. But the numbers themselves in the statements are as accurate as they can be at this point in time. Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Markham.
Yeah, I mean, not for 1 minute do I think that there's anything dodgy. You know, I trust the accounts. I trust the people that work at the council. But what I don't understand is if you haven't got the figures there, or if you're overworked, or you know there's not enough people working there, or the computers don't pick up, or if you've got a computer, you put the numbers in every day, every week, or whatever. At the end, you press a button, you have your totals and everything else. That's how simple I think it is as a layperson. So I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just saying what I'm thinking about. We have somebody that comes up and sits up there that accuses everybody in this room that we're corrupt and we're stealing money with brown envelopes. Even today I looked on the internet and there's a guy there telling us that we're all stealing money. And you know, those are the things that I fear and worry about, because we're all honest people in this room, and everybody does the best job they can. So we've got to be as transparent. But when you have these sort of things where the figures are slightly not right, or this is that, it's going to take years to do accounts. In a normal business, you know, if you're late with your accounts, you're in trouble, especially if it's a VAT. So what can you do to reassure everybody that the accounts are going to be sorted out in future and brought up to date, so we know exactly where we are with the finances of this council? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Markham. We do also have a public inspection period, which we have to do by law. So we publish our data, the transactions that go through the ledger. They go on the ledger, on the website quarterly, so anybody can look at the transactions that have actually gone through the council. In addition to that, we have the public inspection period, which is we can pull off a full download of the whole ledger. It's around 400,000 lines of data, which we do for certain individuals as well, because we do get queries on the as part of the public inspection. So that data's all out there in the ether. People can see that information, they can ask questions on it. So that's already there. To give you some guarantees, we are already on track with the accounts. So in 24-25, we got those published in time. They were done by the 30th of June, which was as required. The audit itself is tonight's signed. If we get that signed off this evening, that puts us within the backstop date, so we are in time. When we get to 25-26, I've got this will absolutely be on time with 25-26 as well. So I've got no concerns around us getting our accounts published. There are no concerns there. We have had issues in the past. We've got over those issues now. We're moving forward with it. In terms of the audit, though, we are a few years off getting that finalised in terms of getting a clear opinion, but that's only because of the backstop issues. So we are going to have to continue to work with the auditors to give them more and more information over previous years to just ensure we get that final sign-off, which will be in the next couple of years. It certainly isn't going to be in 25-26, but hopefully by 27-28, that's when we'll be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Markham. Councillor Smith.
So a couple of questions occurred to me based on Councillor Markham's input and Vicky's response. One question is the ledger, the general ledger, being available to general public. Now, I've had a quick search of the website and I can't find it. Could you show members where we can actually get that ledger as a download?
Under transparency, we have to put something onto the website around our transactions over £500. So each quarter we have to report every transaction under £500. The only things that you won't find within there will be anything relating to employees, because if we have to pay expenses or salaries, those sorts of things, because of you have to obviously protect those individuals from that information being shared. But day-to-day transactions that go through, that they are quarterly updated on the website. Under transparency, I'm not sure what the title is. It is transparency code, yeah. So that is on the website. But then, as I say, at the end of the year, we also have a public inspection period. So if you wanted specific information, you're able to contact the council and ask for that information during that period. It's always after the accounts are published. And when I'll send that round to the committee as well, to give the committee, make them aware of that. They're able to do that. Thank you.
My other question was around, I suppose, going back to when I asked Becky about getting access to all information. How much of this work is actually manual, and how much of it is just reports generated from the database?
Manual in terms of, sorry, I need to clarify your question. Sorry.
I'm from a computer background, so I mean, my layman's view would be, if you've got a general ledger, you've got all that ledger will contain account codes and transaction details. So anything that the auditors need should be like a report away. You just put in the dates that you want, press go, and it will generate a big report for you. Which it's not a manual process; it's an automated process. But when I was asking about access to old accounts and making corrections, why is there issues with resourcing in getting that information? You know, is it a manual process to be able to get these details? And is it manual because we can't automate it? And if not, why not?
Thank you for clarifying. So with the accounts, it isn't as straightforward as everything's in the ledger, and that's just, we have a lot of evidence that we have to build as well for the auditors. So for instance, the external valuations, that won't be something that we've done internally. That'll be something we'll get from external valuers that will then be brought into the council for us to then evaluate, double check that we're happy with it, go backwards and forwards with that information. We have to provide that data to the auditors. The same with pensions. These are really big sums in the accounts. So it isn't just the income and expenditure of the council, it's other accounting adjustments that go through as well. And accounting adjustments are based on on estimates that we make as professionals. They're also based on, there's provisions, there's all things in the accounts that aren't as straightforward as just income and expenditure. There's a lot more things that are built around that as well. So those items will be entered into the ledger, so they will all be in there from a transactional basis. But if you required more information on those, so the auditors will expect evidence around those estimations. Why have we made those estimates? Why have we put that information into the systems? So there's a lot more to it in terms of working papers and lots of information that then has to be forwarded on to auditors. We have had issues with that over valuations. We've had different values over the last couple of years as well, so that then adds another level of information that we need to get across to the auditors. So there's a lot of different reasons as to why it's not as straightforward as just pushing a button. I wish it was that easy. And I think SIPFA at one point were trying to set up, I think it was called a big red button at one point, which would be a case of information's in, you press a button and it all pops out for the auditors. That never really worked. So it's kind of something they've been working on for a period of years as how can this be something that is done. But at the moment that there is, and there will be going forward, there's always got to be some external intervention into that as well, based on professional opinion. So that's why it's not as straightforward as just producing the information and giving it to the auditors. But from an individual public point of view, the transactions are there and we were able to provide that. Such as invoices, if people wanted to see specific invoices, we can forward that information on. But outside of that, there's a lot more technicalities around it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. Rebecca, did you want to clarify things as well?
Yeah, no, thank you, Chair. Sorry, I was just going to echo what Vicky said. Yeah, that the council can easily give us a report and download that for us. However, we need evidence to back up that report. So we look for things, as Vicky said, like invoices, where it's valuation reports. We look at how is the valuer valued your council dwellings, your other land and buildings, what assumptions, what judgments they've used, what's the market data around that. So there is a lot of manual intervention that goes into that rather than just the production of reports, which does take time.
Thanks, Rebecca. Do we have any other questions for Rebecca and Vicky? No, okay. So on item 5, 24-25 statement of accounts, I'm going to move the recommendations at point 2 that A, the audit opinion on the statement of accounts be noted, B, the auditor's completion report be noted, C, the statement of accounts 24-25 be approved and delegated authority being given to the strategic director and chair of audit standards committee to sign the 24-25 accounts, and D, delegated authority be given to the strategic director and chair of audit to sign the letter of representation. Oh yes, and also in addition to the proposals, was it 4 in the end that we made? Yeah. We made 4 proposals earlier that were passed through as well. So I move all those recommendations as printed and the 4 from earlier. Do we want the ones from earlier repeated? Is that? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So the motions that we voted through earlier were all voted on, and we're noting that those have gone through as well. So do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Hancox. So I'll move to the vote now. All those in favour of those recommendations? I think that is unanimous. Thank you very much. Right, so item number 6, any other items? I don't have any. So we'll move to item number 7, which is exclusion of public and press. Under section 100A(4) of Local Government Act 1972, the public and press be excluded from the meeting during consideration of the following item, it being likely that there would be disclosure of exempt information of a description specified in paragraph 7 and part 1 and 2 of schedule 12A to the Act. So I'm going to ask that we move to a vote on the exclusion of the press and public, and that we also ask that the recording be stopped for that part of the meeting. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Hartshorn. Do we move straight to the vote on that? So if I can move straight to the vote on that for item number 8, please. All those in favour? Thank you very much. That is unanimous. Yes, so if I can close that part of the meeting to the public and the press. So at this point,